In December of 2016, NASA satellites detected something beneath the ice of Antarctica that has never been fully explained. A gravitational anomaly stretching approximately 150 miles across beneath a region called Wilkes Land. Something massive, something dense, something that, according to the available data, should not exist. Within weeks of the discovery becoming public, access to the anomaly site was quietly restricted. Research proposals were denied. Satellite imaging schedules over the region changed. 3 separate research teams operating within 200 miles of the site were reassigned to different continents without explanation. That was 7 years ago. During those 7 years, the ice above the anomaly thinned by 14%. Nobody is discussing what happens if whatever lies beneath eventually reaches the surface. Before going any further, something important needs to be understood. The gravitational anomaly is real. The restrictions are real. The ice loss is real. Everything explored in this investigation is built from documented events, publicly available data, and testimony from researchers who worked in Antarctica directly. By the end of this video, you may understand why Antarctica could be the most important location on Earth, and why powerful institutions may prefer that people stop asking what exists beneath the ice. This is a speculative exploration, but the facts supporting it are real enough to become deeply unsettling. Let us begin with what is already confirmed. Antarctica is the coldest, driest, and most isolated continent on Earth. 98% of its surface remains covered by ice, averaging more than a mile in thickness. In some areas, the ice extends nearly 3 miles down to the bedrock below. Whatever lies beneath that ice has remained sealed away for approximately 15 million years. Longer than humanity has existed. Longer than most modern species have existed. A frozen vault, older than the Mediterranean Sea itself. And here is the first truly disturbing detail. Humanity possesses more detailed maps of the surface of Mars than of the terrain hidden beneath Antarctic ice. We have photographed Martian rocks in high definition using robotic vehicles, while large portions of the continent beneath our own feet remain almost entirely unknown. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed fragments, shapes, geological anomalies that do not match ordinary formations. But a complete public map of what exists beneath Antarctica has never been released. Or if such mapping exists, the results have remained classified. Antarctica is governed through the Antarctic Treaty, signed in 1959 by 12 nations and now observed by more than 50 countries. The treaty officially designates Antarctica as a scientific preserve. Military activity is prohibited. Mineral mining is prohibited. On the surface, it appears to be one of the greatest examples of international scientific cooperation in modern history. But hidden within the treaty structure are provisions most people never hear about. Provisions allowing signatory nations to restrict access to areas considered environmentally sensitive without publicly disclosing the reasons. Those provisions have been invoked with increasing frequency over the past 2 decades, especially in 3 regions. Wilkes Land, the Ellsworth Mountain range beneath the ice, and a corridor of East Antarctica privately referred to by some researchers as the Quiet Zone, because every proposal to study it reportedly disappears into silence. That raises an uncomfortable question. Why restrict scientific access to a continent supposedly dedicated entirely to science? Let us return to the anomaly itself. In 2006, researchers from Ohio State University, led by Professor Ralph von Fries, published findings based on NASA GRACE satellite data showing a massive concentration of mass beneath the Wilkes Land ice sheet. The anomaly measured approximately 150 miles in diameter and rested beneath roughly half a mile of ice. The team initially proposed that it could represent an asteroid impact crater, potentially the largest impact structure on Earth, possibly connected to the Permian-Triassic extinction event approximately 250 million years ago. The extinction event that eliminated 96% of life on Earth. But there was an important detail missing from most media coverage. The gravitational signature did not perfectly match a normal impact crater profile. Impact craters produce recognizable gravitational patterns. Ring-shaped anomalies. Central uplift zones. Predictable density structures. The Wilkes Land anomaly showed some of those features. But it also contained internal density variations that the research team itself described as unexplained. Dense structures inside the anomaly that did not correspond to known geological processes associated with asteroid impacts. Professor von Fries remained cautious in published papers. He recommended additional investigation. That investigation has never been permitted. Not delayed, not deprioritized. Never permitted. Every research group requesting ground-level access to study the anomaly since 2006 has reportedly been denied or redirected elsewhere. The explanation provided publicly remains the same every time: environmental sensitivity. No further explanation has ever been offered. Now consider what was happening on the opposite side of Antarctica during the same period. In 2014, researchers studying ice loss in West Antarctica made an accidental discovery briefly mentioned in scientific reporting before almost completely disappearing from public discussion. Satellite thermal imaging identified formations beneath the ice in the Ellsworth Mountain region displaying unusual geometric regularity. Straight lines, right angles, structural symmetry. Features that, in almost any other context on Earth, would immediately invite discussion of artificial origin. The researchers acknowledged the formations but carefully attributed them to unusual geological processes. Their funding continued. Their access expansion requests did not. No follow-up findings were ever publicly released. 1 year later, in 2015, another research team analyzing deep ice cores from the same region reported discovering trace elements at specific depth layers, inconsistent with ordinary atmospheric deposition. The concentrations resembled industrial residue more closely than naturally occurring material. The findings appeared in a small scientific journal and then vanished from discussion almost immediately. The research team itself was reassigned. Something important should be clarified here. This investigation is not claiming these formations are alien structures. It is not claiming the trace elements are extraterrestrial materials. The point is much simpler. When geometric formations and chemically unusual deposits are discovered beneath ancient Antarctic ice, the scientific method requires investigation. Instead, what repeatedly appears is silence, restricted access, reassignment of personnel. Again and again, the same pattern. The more unusual the discovery becomes, the faster the research surrounding it disappears. To understand how deep this pattern goes, it becomes necessary to go much further into the past. Because Antarctica's mysteries did not begin with satellites. In 1492, the Ottoman admiral Piri compiled a world map using, according to his own notes, much older source maps dating back to antiquity. The Piri map, rediscovered in 1929, accurately depicts the coastline of South America with remarkable precision. But it also appears to show something impossible: the northern coastline of Antarctica without ice. Mountains, rivers, coastal formations hidden beneath miles of Antarctic ice and unknown to modern science until ground-penetrating radar surveys in the 20th century confirmed similar terrain features beneath the ice sheet. The conventional explanation is coincidence, or a distorted extension of the South American coastline drawn too far south. But historian Charles Hapgood, whose work received endorsement from Albert Einstein, argued that the map could only have originated from source material created when Antarctica's coastline remained ice-free. That has not happened for millions of years. Not thousands, millions. Someone mapped Antarctica before the ice arrived. And the question nobody seems comfortable answering is who? The Piri Reis map is not the only example. The Orontius Phineas map from 1531 depicts Antarctica with an apparently ice-free coastline, including interior geographic features. The Philippe Bouache map from 1739 portrays Antarctica as two separate landmasses connected by ice. Humanity did not confirm Antarctica consisted of two major landmasses connected beneath the ice until 1958, when seismic surveys revealed the structure beneath the continent. Philippe Bouache drew it 219 years earlier. These maps suggest that at some point in the distant past, Antarctica may have been surveyed before the continent became ice-covered. Fragments of those ancient charts may have survived through centuries of copying and recopying until portions eventually reached Renaissance-era cartographers. The mainstream position remains that such a possibility is impossible because no advanced civilization existed millions of years ago. That is a completely reasonable conclusion, unless something else was responsible for the mapping. Now we reach one of the most controversial sections of Antarctica's history. In 1938, German explorers launched the Schwabenland expedition to Antarctica. Officially, the purpose involved territorial claims and support for future whaling operations. The expedition mapped approximately 230,000 square miles of territory through aerial photography. Thousands of metal markers stamped with emblems were dropped across the region, which the team named Neuschwabenland. Then something unusual happened. They returned. During an active global conflict, while fighting across multiple fronts, while German cities were under bombardment. Naval records show at least 4 confirmed U-boat missions to Antarctic waters between 1939 and 1943. For a nation already stretched to the breaking point militarily, those missions represented a significant allocation of resources. Why continue sending submarines to the most isolated continent on Earth during a difficult global conflict? After the war ended, events became even stranger. In 1946, the United States launched Operation High Jump, the largest Antarctic expedition ever assembled at that time. Admiral Richard Byrd commanded approximately 4,700 personnel, 13 ships, and 33 aircraft. Officially, the operation existed to establish a research base and prepare personnel for cold weather operations. 4,700 military personnel, 13 ships, 33 aircraft. For a research base on ice, the operation had been scheduled to continue for 6 to 8 months. Instead, it ended after approximately 8 weeks. Following the expedition, Admiral Byrd gave an interview to the Chilean newspaper El Mercurio in March of 1947. During the interview, Byrd warned that the United States needed to prepare for hostile aircraft capable of traveling rapidly between polar regions. He described vehicles able to move from pole to pole at tremendous speeds. The interview was published once. It was rarely referenced afterward. Operation High Jump remains one of the most heavily documented yet least publicly discussed military operations in American history. Thousands of photographs were taken. Hundreds of hours of film footage were recorded. Much of that material remains classified more than 70 years later. That leaves several difficult questions. What did nearly 5,000 military personnel encounter in Antarctica that caused the mission to end months ahead of schedule? What did Admiral Byrd witness that led him to publicly discuss hostile aircraft originating from polar regions? And why do large portions of the mission remain classified almost 8 decades later? The modern phase of Antarctic anomalies accelerated in 2002 when researchers from the University of California confirmed the existence of Lake Vostok, a massive freshwater lake buried beneath roughly 2.5 miles of Antarctic ice. The lake had remained sealed away from the atmosphere for approximately 15 to 25 million years, longer than human beings have existed as a species. When researchers finally obtained samples from the lake environment, they discovered something unexpected. Life. Biological organisms, unlike anything contained within existing genetic databases. Microbial life that evolved in complete isolation beneath miles of ice inside conditions previously assumed to be sterile. Life surviving where life should not have existed at all. But another detail received far less public attention. Drill cores extracted from layers immediately above Lake Vostok contained trace metallic compounds arranged in unusual geometric patterns. Initially, researchers suspected contamination from the drilling equipment itself. Further analysis reportedly indicated the compounds did not originate from the drill system. After that, the findings were reclassified under a different description: anomalous mineral deposits. The supplementary analysis containing detailed breakdowns of those metallic structures was later removed from the publicly accessible version of the research. The full data reportedly remains available only through institutional access at 3 universities. Metallic compounds arranged in geometric configurations beneath 2.5 miles of Antarctic ice. Classified as anomalous mineral deposits. Discussion effectively closed. Now step back and look at the larger picture. A 150-mile gravitational anomaly beneath Wilkes Land that does not fully match ordinary geological structures. Geometric formations identified through thermal imaging beneath Antarctic mountains. Chemically unusual trace elements recovered from deep ice cores. Ancient maps apparently depicting Antarctica before it became ice-covered. A German expedition repeatedly returning to Antarctica during wartime. A massive American operation ending months early while much of its documentation remains classified. A sealed subglacial lake containing unknown biological organisms and unexplained metallic compounds. And behind all of it, a 70-year pattern of restricted access, reassigned researchers, and silence surrounding the most unusual discoveries on the continent. Individually, each event possesses a reasonable explanation. The anomaly could be an impact crater. The structures could be geological formations. The elements could be naturally occurring. The maps could be coincidence. The expeditions could have been territorial. The metallic compounds could represent mineral deposits. Each explanation works independently. But taken together, the pattern begins to feel different. Discovery, followed by restriction. Anomaly, followed by silence. Investigation, followed by reassignment. Again and again, across decades, across nations, across institutions, that leads to a possibility difficult to ignore. What if something exists beneath Antarctic ice that fundamentally changes humanity's understanding of history itself? Not just Antarctica. Earth, civilization, intelligence. Possibly whether human beings were the first advanced presence on this planet at all. Consider one scenario. Millions of years ago, before Antarctica froze, something established a significant presence there. Structures, technology, infrastructure. Perhaps built by an intelligence that evolved on Earth long before humanity. Or perhaps by something that arrived from somewhere else entirely. Then the climate changed. Slowly, over immense spans of time, the continent froze. Ice accumulated mile after mile, sealing everything beneath the most effective deep freeze in the solar system. For millions of years it remained preserved. Continents shifted, species vanished, human civilization emerged without ever seriously exploring the one continent buried beneath miles of ice. Until now. Because the ice is melting, Antarctica currently loses ice at an accelerating rate measured in hundreds of billions of tons annually. The Thwaites Glacier, often referred to as the Doomsday Glacier, is destabilizing in ways many glaciologists describe as unprecedented. Ice shelves existing for thousands of years are collapsing within months. Wilkes Land itself, directly above the gravitational anomaly, is considered one of the most vulnerable regions on the continent. Humanity is now uncovering whatever exists beneath the Antarctic ice sheet in real time, not through intentional exploration, through climate change. The same environmental force threatening modern civilization may also reveal whatever remained hidden beneath Antarctica for millions of years. And that possibility changes this from a mystery into something closer to a warning. What if the restricted zones across Antarctica are not primarily about environmental protection? What if they exist to control the timing of disclosure itself? What if certain governments already know what lies beneath the ice because they have accessed it through operations never revealed publicly? What if the increasing pace of UFO disclosure over the past several years is connected to Antarctica directly? Congressional hearings, Pentagon investigations, official acknowledgement of unidentified aerial phenomena, former intelligence officials discussing non-human biologics under oath. Each development pushes the public conversation slightly farther than before. A decade ago, many of those statements would have destroyed careers. Now they appear almost routine. Perhaps humanity is not simply being prepared for something arriving from the sky. Perhaps humanity is being prepared for something emerging from beneath the ice. The timing becomes difficult to ignore. In 2017, details of a Pentagon UFO investigation program became public. In 2020, the United States Navy officially confirmed several UFO videos were authentic. In 2023, a former intelligence officer testified publicly regarding alleged non-human biological evidence. Each disclosure moved the conversation one step further into territory previously considered impossible. Maybe these disclosures are not random. Maybe they are part of a gradual normalization process preparing the public for a much larger revelation. And Antarctica, with its melting ice, restricted regions, buried anomalies, and classified operations, may sit at the center of that preparation. Something exists beneath the Antarctic ice sheet. It has remained there longer than humanity itself has existed. For the first time in millions of years, the ice above it is retreating. Human beings did not intentionally open the vault. The planet opened it for us. And whatever waits beneath has been sealed away for a very long time. If the secrets beneath Antarctica have left you questioning what else may already exist on Earth, there are other investigations worth exploring. One possibility is that alien intelligence may already observe humanity from outside linear time itself. Another possibility is that signals from deep space are not random at all, but warnings that something is approaching. Both connect directly to the questions raised here. Subscribe so you do not miss our next investigation. Until then, pay attention to Antarctica. The ice is melting faster than many scientists predicted. And when enough of it disappears, humanity may finally discover what was hidden underneath. Some discoveries cannot be buried again.